found. Create a free pledge manager for your project.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. Hello, everyone.
I'm Mike Delisio. How's it going?
It is going, right? It's halfway through the week here. Crowdsurfing, Kickstarter still seems to be going strong, especially based on the weight of a few of the games we're talking about today. It's interesting to see the different things that are being backed on Kickstarter. And also, Kickstarter is interesting to me because it's one of the few things that's showing up. Like, I would say more than half the games that are coming to me at this point are Kickstarter fulfillment. Because a lot of the publishers like Asmodee have paused their releases right now during this quarantine period. But the Kickstarters are still being released.
Right.
Yes. And Z, I know a couple of weeks ago you weren't too thrilled with the lineup, but I don't know. I'm feeling pretty... There's some interesting things coming up here, I think.
This is pretty good. Yeah, this is a pretty good lineup. Yeah.
He's like the negative guy on the thing, like, it's okay.
I don't know. I have a hard time getting too excited about these things 2 years from now. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But here's what I do. I get excited, and then I forget about them. It's an easy thing to do. Like, I'd be like, that looks really
Tom.
cool.
I'm sorry. When I get excited, I stay excited.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to
I don't want to make it, you know.
So, no, I don't know. I was just talking about this. To me, it's just easy. A game will show up, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I forgot about this game. I'm okay with it. And also, this whole 2 years in the future, most games nowadays are a year or less, I feel.
That's true.
They're getting better at fulfilling.
They're already made, I think, sometimes, or like, you know, farther along than they or further along than they would have been before in the past, like where things were not a surefire, you know, hit. Now, if they start working on something before the Kickstarter goes up and then the Kickstarter underperforms, they're just like, we're canceling because we want to rethink our strategies. You know? I think that's why the turnaround is faster, because a lot of more work is done ahead of time.
Well, here's what we're doing, folks. If you've never seen one of these before, we're going to talk about games. We always talk about games that are ending in the next 14 days, which has frustrated a few people for the last couple episodes, but we're finally talking about those games today.
Know the one.
So
you haven't even finished the first one.
And then we don't look at every Kickstarter. If we looked at every Kickstarter, you guys would think we were the most negative people on earth.
Are we talking every Kickstarter about any topic at all?
No, even if we just did gaming. If we did every Kickstarter under board games, we would sound so negative. It'd be like, pass, 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 pass. Oh, this one looks... No, pass, pass. And finally we get this...
You're not wrong.
No, it's true.
We also get some things, you know, people are like, oh, you guys seem negative. No, and again, remember... First impressions. To that end, I want to quick say something. Last week, or 2 weeks ago when we did this, we looked at a project, and what was it? There was the one made after the video game.
Wolfenstein?
Oh, yeah.
Wolfenstein. And when we were scrolling through there, I said something to the effect of, there's not even many board game reviewers reviewing this. My apologies to those who were board game reviewers. I did not mean that as a slight at all. I just didn't recognize people, and I thought they were miniature reviewers or such. So I was incorrect there with my statement. No offense was intended. I still would not support that game in particular because of the company, but the reviewers who reviewed it are certainly fine and wonderful people, I would assume. All right, so let's take a look at our project for today. Here we go, starting with, I don't actually know how to... I don't even know how to pronounce this one. Is it Valknut?
I would go Valknut.
Maybe the K silence, though. Valknut.
I think it's Valknut.
Valknut. Could be.
I think it's pronounced Elf Vikings.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is an artwork style. It's very app, you know, like something you'd find on your an app. But I like this style. And this one here,
Looks cute.
unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of things to go by. It's their first creative project, but he is the designer and artist of the Dwarf series. So a lot of people know that, or whatever that series is called, the Dwarf 7
or whatever. This guy does not like names that are easy to pronounce.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if he did that, but when I saw this game, I was like, this seems familiar. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah. But this looks like the kind of game that Z, you would like, actually.
Yeah, it looks neat. If I could totally see myself getting into this. I don't know. It seems approachable. It seems fun. It seems lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
I like the look of everything. As long as the rules are not too convoluted for a game that should be quick and simple, which sometimes is a trap, then I'm on board. Yeah, and it says 10 to 15 minutes. Then again, I did play a game the other day that we played for about an hour at the 2-player only level, mind you. And the game lists 15 to 30 minutes on the box, which is just out and out a lie. It's like, come on, guys.
Wow.
You can't even... I mean, I could literally play brainlessly, and I still can't finish in 15 minutes. It's ridiculous. But no, I agree. This looks cute.
I am really liking the artwork on this one a lot. Good graphic design across the board. All right.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised it's not funding more, but yeah, it looks good.
Well, it's his first project. It's hard, to break in as a first project. What's the cost on the game, too? $25.
I thought it was pretty inexpensive.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't see that as an issue.
Well, the video was not very exciting, unfortunately, on this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good video. It's sort of just... Yeah.
The next one sounds like it was named by Crystal. Good Puppers. It sounds like something she would say.
Man.
Now there's one of the designers here. Huh?
Yeah, and if you listen to the video, at some point, the title must have been... What did they say? Because he says an old title, I'm guessing, in the video. And I think what they said is all the goodest puppers.
Oh,
which is too much for me. Good puppers, sure.
I'll tell you the truth. Good puppers it's too much for me. I know that I'm going to catch hate. It's not that I don't like dogs. Dogs are lovely.
Dog hater.
Why do you hate animals?
I am on record as being a lover of animals, but I don't love the puppers thing. To me, that's just, I don't know. It gives me a little cringe. Although the art I like the art on this.
Come on.
Which
How
is
can you not
surprising
love
because
the goodest puppers?
This is from Asmati Games, and they're not known at all for their art.
No, they are not.
I don't know. I know Chris, he's the owner of Asmati Games. Asmati makes fairly strategic games, so I don't know. Asmati, sorry.
Yeah.
Asmati, they make fairly strategic games, so I'm curious. This doesn't sound like a strategic game, right?
It looks like one a little bit, though.
I mean, it does look like one.
A little bit.
Like I'm seeing a lot of like text and effects and stuff on the cards.
Right.
But then it kind of looks cute. It's about cute puppers. Oh, the goodest of puppers.
And that's the thing I wonder about this one. Are you going to get people that are interested in it just because they like dogs, they like the lighthearted art style, and then are they going to get too much game? You know what I mean? Are they going to be overwhelmed by a rule book that maybe, I don't know. I didn't look at the rules, so I'm just throwing a question out there.
He says he was trying to make a light game for accessible to people. I'd give this one a whirl based on the strength of the company.
Sure.
It looks cute. I'll play it. I like the one we just looked at a little more. Like if I had both in front of me, I think I'd want to try the other one first.
Mm-hmm.
This looks all right too. Yeah. This looks better than literally everything last time we did this show. How about that?
All right, let's take a look at a tiny little Kickstarter called Frosthaven, which is going to break 10 million for sure at this point. There's 50 hours to go, and they just sent me an email. I forget. You get a challenge coin for people who already back Gloomhaven, and now also will back Frosthaven. Although to me, I felt like all those people already backed Frosthaven. This has 66,000 backers. That's crazy. So let's put this in perspective. So I looked up online to see the top 10 funded Kickstarter board games of all time. And we have Kingdom Death Monster raised $12.3 million. Exploding Kittens 8.7, which is actually pretty impressive. That had 219,000 backers. And then Dark Souls, the board game, I did not realize was so high and yet so awful. A terrible game. No, I'm sorry. It's an awful game.
Yeah.
4.6 million.
You got to get good, just like
and
Dark
then-
Souls, the video game. That's what it is.
And then Kaman has the rest of these, or most of them. Anyhow, this one is, so as far as I can tell, this is the second biggest board game Kickstarter ever. It's certainly, I don't think it's going to be number one. I don't think it will raise $2 million in
50 hours. No.
Yeah, probably not.
How much is this? I'm having a hard time looking at it over here. What's their
120 maybe?
It's 100 just for the box. And then you get some solo scenarios, removable stickers, and narration for 145. But it's 100 for the box, that's a reasonable price. I'm telling you, if you go by hours played in this game, it's one of the cheapest board games you'll ever buy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say that a game that costs $100 is a tremendous value. And I've already gone on record as that Gloomhaven, and I'm going to assume Frosthaven, is just not a game for me personally. But I would say that this is a tremendous value, because if you play through the whole thing, you're going to get $100 worth of play. I mean, you consider a regular board game is going to cost, $60? This is less than 2 board games. You're getting so much stuff in this box. That's my issue with it. It's too much for me. For me, it's too much game, and that's why, it's not something I'm terribly interested in. But man, it's just keeps going. There's just
for sure I'm interested in this.
Do I need this, Tom? That's the main question. Should I back this? Do you need it?
I don't think you'll want it. Although if this quarantine lasts, maybe you'd be like, all right, give me it. and just play through it. It is interesting. The Broken Token insert is included with this. I don't remember this from the original one. I know a lot of people
included as box? In no. Okay, there's a pledge level which includes the insert. It's not for $100. The insert is more than $100.
Sure, but that's still a lot. And then you can get the original Gloomhaven, the expansion for Gloomhaven, and Frosthaven for $285. If you do that, that is a huge jump off. That's like jumping in the ocean. You're like, that's good.
That's like jumping in the ocean if you've never seen water.
Right. Well, either way.
I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, this says over here 30 minutes per player. 1 to 4, 30 minutes per player. How accurate is that?
For set it up? Scenario?
It's not set up. Come on.
Because to me, I think it's about time to set it up.
That's really accurate. You can a 2-player game, an hour scenario. That's very easily correct.
I can play this in 30 minutes.
Yes, although again, I would say it's closer to 45 for playing solo campaigns, because when I play solo, you run through 2 characters, so it's not that different than a 2-player game anyway.
Lies, then. Moving on.
No, we're not moving on. People have been waiting for us to talk about this. This actually,
let's keep talking about it. Okay.
Here's
what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna go back it right now. Let's see.
Okay, so I'm excited about this one. My only caveat about this one, I like the cold weather idea. I like the new characters sound really awesome, but it definitely, I don't think this should necessarily be your entry into the world.
Oh.
No, I think it sounds like the characters are a little bit more complex, unless you're ready to jump into that level of complexity. But again, if you backed Gloomhaven, you're getting this. With the exception of those people who are just scratching Gloomhaven, they bought it, they're not all the way through it, or they're not even a little bit through it. And they don't need to get this because they haven't finished Gloomhaven yet. And this is obviously
they kind of do need to get this, because once this is done, these prices are going to go through the roof.
Yeah, but Gloomhaven had a second printing. I don't see why this one wouldn't.
But what if it doesn't?
So do you think the people that are getting this game or are interested in getting this game, are they looking for more of the same, or do you think they're looking for more for different mechanics, more complicated types of characters?
I think so. I mean, one of the cool things about Gloomhaven is the characters are so unique and different from each other. And this one, every character is different from the last ones. To me, that's kind of fascinating. There's also, they added seasons here. He also added some puzzles, like the smallest bit of like an escape room type thing in here. So that's that's interesting. I like that they add that stuff. And This definitely is a slight better quality. Some of the stuff that was in they had it as an upgrade pack or added in the expansion, like these dials here for health and stuff, is included straight in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It sounds interesting to me.
It's obviously the hottest thing going, and so this obviously has a large appeal. It is still surprising to me that it has as large of appeal as it does. I do think that part of the reason why is that this game crosses over to RPG players as well. I do think that there are people that play Gloomhaven that don't play a lot of other board games, but play a lot of RPGs.
This one definitely appealed to, I think, a lot of heavy Euro gamers too. Because
it did too, absolutely.
There's not dice combat in it, and the card management in it, which is a little off-putting at first. The first time I played it, I was like, I don't know about this card management stuff. You lose your cards, but after a while, you take it, and that's the whole game. How to combine your cards, when to lose a card. It's really impressive. All right, let's go to the next. For Science. Now, this one here.
How many millions has this one made?
This one has only made 79,000.
Moving on.
I am so pleased to see this one here. I played this game in prototype form like 6 years ago or something. Yeah, this was back when Gray Fox Games was still with cool stuff. And they brought me in and they said, hey, we want to show you some prototypes. And most of the prototypes were garbage. But this one, I said, this is a cool concept. Because what it is you're solving viruses. You're trying to figure out the antidote to a virus. And once you figure it out, you actually have to build the antidote, like you're building the amiibo blocks or whatever. And so there's a bit of dexterity there. You have to follow the plan. So like the orange block can't touch a green block or something like that. So it's not that you're following an exact pattern. You have to follow the rules on how to put it together. And that's cool. Part of the game. And I really like this game. It's not a long game because there's real time. It's 15 minutes. So it's time that you're doing all this. And characters, and I don't know how much they've changed it since I played it. But I didn't realize when I played it, it's by the same guy who did Spirit Island. Back then, Spirit Island didn't exist. So they use my quote here. One of the most unique games I've ever played. It's very unique.
How unique is it? Would you call it unique?
I think it's a very unique game, but that's true. Like I said, I played it years ago, and I haven't played anything in between then and now where I thought, oh, well, this game didn't need to be made. So when I talked to them and they told me every time I would see them, I'd say, are you going to ever make this game? And now they're making it. I'm really pleased.
They were like, which one? And you'd be like, the unique one.
I couldn't remember. Yeah. I was like, that game with the blocks and the viruses.
Well, I'm not normally a huge fan of dexterity, and especially not real-time dexterity games, but a couple of things have me interested. Number one, the designer. I think Spirit Island is fantastic. Number two, I really like the graphic design of this. I like the theme. I would absolutely give this one a shot, even though if someone had just described the game to me, I would be like, real-time dexterity, I'm out. But this one, it's gotten my interest.
But see, the weird thing is it's not necessarily dexterity. It's just that it's got to be able to stand, for example.
Mm-hmm. This kind of makes me think of that circus one. What's that called?
Yeah, Meeple Circus.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the one that Dimension, is it Dimension, the one with the marbles? That one's not dexterity, but you know what I mean? You have to follow the rules.
Oh,
have the different marbles touch each other. Mm-hmm.
I like that these guys are also, donating some of the proceeds from this to charity right now. That's a nice thing. I'm happy to see it happening,
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and Gray Fox does good work, so I'm looking forward to this one. All right, then we have Planet Unknown. This is a tile placement game in a very crowded genre. However, this one, Rado was telling me that it comes with this Lazy Susan, which, as dumb as that sounds, I really like it. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah.
Is this part
a total gimmick, and I'm
part of the
excited.
game, or just a cool Lazy Susan?
I don't know actually. I think it's part of the game.
I thought it was like, depending on where you're sitting, you only have access to the ones that are. I think that's the case, and if that's the case, that is kind of a mechanical element of the game, a spatial element. I'm not positive about that though, but I thought that was the case.
Well, this company has really kind of morphed as time went by. Their first game, Truck Off, which when I first got it, I was like, that sounds like a game you shouldn't be playing. But it's actually a truck off. It's about food trucks. And then Sword Crafters, which I never played, but Sam enjoyed that one. And then Thrive, that abstract strategy game looked interesting, but I never played it. This one looks like a jump up, though, from the other games for sure. The component quality looks really good. I tend to like polynomial games. Polyomino games. Sorry. Polyomino games. But I love the look of this one. More than, like, this one's better than all three of Rosenberg's games from Stronghold put together.
Ooh, in your face, Rosenberg.
No, not Rosenberg. That's in your face. The company that made them, the Stronghold and whatever the other company was. I'm talking about the
face.
I'm intrigued. My biggest concern about the look is that, do you not feel like this has a very strong terraforming Mars look to the board?
Well, sure, but that's because it's Mars. You can't, like...
I guess,
planet exists.
Oh, wait, is it Mars?
I know.
It says planet unknown.
Oh.
But it's not like planets look that different. But look at these tiles. Don't those tiles look great?
No, they do look cool. I'm interested in this game, and I am interested in the Lazy Susan. But as soon as I saw those player boards, I'm like, that looks a lot like terraforming Mars to me.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Look at these other alternate player boards. They're different colors anyway.
Yeah, those look cool. Okay,
we
should have gone with those.
This gives me a vibe of Barren Park.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Space and Park.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped.
Bears
about
in
this one.
space.
I like these boards with the insert. Come on, Mike, you love these boards. Say it.
I'm into the boards. Yeah, no, I only brought that up because it was the only thing, honestly, that gave me pause. Everything else, I'm pretty into. I know that Lazy Susan is likely a gimmick, but I'm on board with that gimmick. I'm very interested in this.
I want it. I want to put a pumpkin pie on that bad boy and spin it.
All right, I don't even know what that means. All right, Regicide. It's a cooperative fantasy card game for 2 to 4 players. No?
No.
Oh, I was going to ask if you like this artwork. You don't?
No. But the game also does not look good.
It's from Badgers from Mars.
What? I watched the how to play, or I watched like half of the how to play, and I was like, no. Guys, no.
And it's just a standard deck, right? A standard deck of cards.
It is. You can play this. Actually, if you watch their playthrough, you can play this with a standard deck of cards right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's problematic, though.
Because they show you the rules, like the guy explains how to play. And it's one of those, like, I just hate when games do that. You got to be a little less transparent than that. This idea of, clubs, double your attack. Spades are a shield. So they shield you from being hurt. The game I hate that. I know a lot of games do this. I know a lot of designers prototype with decks of cards.
Right.
And then you hide that fact. You don't put it out there, I don't know.
I like the art a lot, though. As a deck of cards,
I'm with you.
This would be a deck I would play with.
I like the art. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the game doesn't sound interesting at all, but I do like the art.
$17 ain't bad, or $18. I do like how they put
for a deck of cards.
It is interesting. They put approximately $17 here, but it's actually 18. I guess the Kickstarter does the real-time conversion. So, all right, the other mega Kickstarter we're talking about, which looks small compared to Frosthaven, but it's not, is Ankh, Gods of Egypt. Now, their stock market news broke like a few days before this went live, and we were kind of like, is it going to affect it? And it instantly backed, and we were like, okay, no.
Funded, you mean instantly funded?
Instantly funded, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, some of us instantly backed it, I think. This is the third in the trilogy from Blood Rage and Rising Sun. Right. I'm not the board to me, this looks okay. I'm not like as sold on the board compared to the other boards. The miniatures are really cool, though. And the fact that your miniature is this amazingly huge, god that you're walking around, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Right. I had not seen this for maybe a couple of weeks. I kind of looked at it when it showed up, and when they, announced some cool little stretch goal that had like 3D buildings, pyramids, or whatever. And then I looked again, and I haven't looked at it in a while. So today, when we needed to talk about it, I went through it and looked at it again, and I think I'm finally starting to get excited about it. Some of those miniatures are looking really good now. Like some of the pieces are looking different. I mean, and a lot of it is different, but to me, not necessarily visually appealing. It's like, oh, it looks like a man, but with the head of a baboon. It's like, all right. I mean, but I'm not, psyched about it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. This is one of those
them are
games
looking good. Yeah.
That you've got to consider kickstarting for good or for worse.
Right.
This is Kaman's MO. And so, I mean, right now I'm scrolling through the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. There is a lot of it.
Yeah.
Boxes and
ton
boxes.
of it. And I don't even care so much about these extra miniatures. That's cool and all. But it's when you get down to this plastic order tokens. I know I'm going to want those.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
that's the stuff that you could use in every game. 3D action trackers. 3D temples and obelisks and pyramids.
Well, they just
that's
added,
the stuff I want.
They literally just added something since I looked at it last.
They
an
added
hour
a whole
ago.
an add-on box, a whole add-on box.
The Pharaoh
I
expansion.
I didn't. Oh man, I didn't even notice that there was these extra things. I have not.
Oh yeah.
How much of this do you need?
Things.
How much do you
All
need?
of it.
All
All of it.
Shut up.
Worship the gods of Egypt.
All of it. You must have it all.
All right. Well,
Pay like an Egyptian. Paying all that cash. You are paying all that cash.
To sing. We're gonna take a break here. We'll be back to look at the rest of the Kickstarters. Let's jump to our contributors.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Dice Tower Preview Recap. I'm Mark, and today we're going to be entering the arena in the world of Mitropia. We only have the one game to look at this week. It's been a little quiet in April, but there's tons to come in May. Alright, let's take a look at Mitropia. When the peoples of the earth and their gods wish to show their skill, triumph and champion their causes, they no longer spill their blood on the battlefields of the world. Instead, they ascend to the fields of the gods, finding there the ancient game of Mitropia, which allows them to test their mettle against one another, each tribe bringing its most brilliant strategists, ancient gifts, and warriors to win the day. The magical fields of the gods shift and change to create new challenges. Divine powers are harnessed to place warriors on the field and weave the structures needed to win. Incantations strengthen a position or weaken an opponent, changing fortunes in the blink of an eye. The main goal of the game is to control more territory than any other tribe at the end of the game. To control territory means to either occupy a space with your warrior or completely surround a space with your warriors. You can also increase your score by capturing prisoners from opposing tribes. Each prisoner increases your score by 1 point. At the end of the game, the player who has the highest score through the most territory controlled and prisoners taken combined wins. With luck, a number of special action cards and powers may also modify your results. Lastly, watch out! If any of the tribal chieftains is captured, the game ends and counting begins. So, the interesting thing about this game, yes, it does have its roots in the game of Go. Absolutely. But I do like the card play, how some of those special actions work in this game. You know, you can double up your actions, you can move across the board, and I really like the fact that in like a full complement 4 or 5 player game, it really adds a lot because you're all desperately trying to surround each other, and it becomes this race back and forth, and how you have to share the loot, so to say, share pieces as you surround folks and steal and capture those pieces. So there's a lot of neat things there. I really like that. And again, the card play really adds another element to the game with all the special actions and the different grid patterns that you create as you place your pieces out into the world. Alright folks, if Mitropia looks at all of interest to you, please go check out my full preview. And as always, if you want your game featured as a Dice Tower preview, please shoot me an email. Now, again, April's been pretty slow for previews, but May looks to be ramping up, so keep an eye on new content coming soon and some previews from the Kirby's. I'm looking forward to those. All right, folks, until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Hey folks, and welcome to FOMO, the segment where I take a look at a game that's seeking crowdfunding right now. Maybe I have a fear of missing out on it, and maybe you do too. We'll go ahead and decide together. And today, I'm going to take a look at a game with humans and aliens. We're going to defend a planet. That planet's going to be Procyon III. So today I'm taking a look at the Defense of Procyon III. Now this is normally where I would cut over, show you some bits, talk about how the game plays. Well, not going to do that because of a few reasons. The first one being, I don't have a prototype of it. I actually got to play this game on a live stream using Tabletop Simulator with our very own Mike DeLisio, and then Jeremy and Ryan Schoon from Man vs. Meeple, with David helping us out. David being the designer. I'll cut to that in a minute. The other reason why is, honestly, I don't know how all of this game works. And there's a very good reason for that. So first, let's talk about David. David Terzi, one of my favorite recent designers. He asked me if I wanted to be a part of this, and I said, absolutely, without knowing anything about this. Typically, I love Euro games, I love David's stuff, and I thought, sure. Then he sent me the rulebook. And I kid you not, the rulebook was 59 pages. Now, how much of that is just a working rulebook and whatnot is up for grabs. I know that I was not looking at a final rulebook, but I was very overwhelmed. That's when he told me I only really needed to know how my faction worked, and I was going to be playing the Meld, which is going to be the alien faction that's up in space. Mike was going to play the aliens on the ground, and Ryan was going to play the humans on the ground, and Jeremy the humans in space. So I thought, great, I'll learn how my faction works. Mike and I are going to work together. I did read his stuff, but when it came to the final day to actually sit and play, I still was so nervous. I had this idea of how my faction worked, but I was still really nervous because I'm so used to knowing how every little thing in a game works. However, once we got going, it was fantastic. Kind of reminded me a little bit, not in gameplay, but of Vast, in that when I first played Vast, I only learned how one portion of it worked, and then eventually I learned the rest, but I didn't need to know how the rest worked. So I really loved that this is, honestly, this felt like a war game for Eurogamers. So me. It was absolutely a blast. I loved how Mike and I would coordinate our efforts together. I would lend him support, he would lend me support. I loved how simple the combat was and how every faction played differently. I felt like I was playing my own little game that interacted with everyone else at the table. To boot, now I know I was working with Tabletop Simulator, but as far as I could see, the artwork and the miniatures and everything in this was absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you get a chance, I do say you should go check out Mike and I's live stream over on the MVM channel. We had an absolute blast. It played in, I think, just under 3 hours. We got it done, and that was fantastic. But really, this is just a phenomenal game. And if you're afraid of war games, don't be afraid of this. And if you're a war gamer, maybe looking for something a little Euro sensibility to bring out to other folks, this might be a game worth looking at. Overall, I really enjoyed this. I hope Mike's giving his thoughts in this episode as well. And if the game interests you, check out our live play of it, and also go check out the Kickstarter page. This is a phenomenal game by a phenomenal designer that really did surprise me, and I am super happy I got to play. Anyway, next week we're going to be taking a look at a game that I do have a prototype for, and I look forward to seeing you folks next episode.
Okay, so let's just jump right back and everything here. First of all, we have a game that's doing extremely well, and that is Tales from the Loop, the board game. Now, this is a little weird because this is, until the show was released on Amazon a few weeks ago, I had never heard of Tales from the Loop. I know that it's based on pictures from what I understand, right? Originally just...
I had heard of an RPG called Tales from the Loop, right. So I had heard
Sure, but
of it.
I think the art books came first, and then stuff came after. It says here, in 2017, we published a tabletop role-playing game on this, and it won any awards, blah, 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 and now they're making a board game.
Right.
And it's doing really well, but I think that's partially because these pictures are very evocative. Have either of you guys seen the show?
I have seen about 20, 30 minutes of it, of the first episode. Okay. I haven't even finished. I haven't even
Exact
finished one
same
episode.
Thing with me. I watched 20 to 30 minutes of the first episode, and I kept thinking, when is something going to happen?
Yes.
It was very.
Is it animated or is it real
No,
action?
It's real life, but they're basing this on a picture. So I think the whole thing's like a picture. And then I went and read reviews online, and they said it moves very slowly. And I was like, you think?
Wow.
I don't know if it's bad or not, but I was just kind of like waiting for something to happen. There was very little dialogue, a lot of walking around and music and people looking meaningfully at things, and very cool.
Was there a lot of brooding going on, maybe?
No, I don't know.
But a little brooding.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
Yeah, a
here,
lot of
though.
these, like even looking through the page when I was looking at it earlier, some of the imagery on here is in the show.
For sure.
Where they like kind of replicated some of the images, in the TV show. Yeah, it's got a cool kind of vibe to it, but I'm not sure what the show's about yet. I actually thought it was going to be one of those, like each episode is its own weird tale from the loop.
No, it is.
Twilight Zone.
No, it is an anthology. I think they're loosely connected. But
It is?
an anthology.
Oh, okay.
I just want something that's a little faster paced. This reminded me of the slow pace. Do you remember that I Dream of Electric Sheep? We were excited about that.
Yeah.
And then that was super slow paced. That's how I felt about this.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem with it is, I'm telling you, it feels like the first episode I've seen, like I said, 30 minutes or so, feels like the first episode of a season of connected episodes. Doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's going to be over in half an hour because nothing's happened yet.
What about the game here? The game has 4 scenarios. Each scenario is 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. The problem is they're showing a lot of cool pieces, but the game itself, they say it's a prototype, and it looks like a prototype. The graphic design, at least. So I don't know.
I'm intrigued. I mean, I'm intrigued by the setting. I know very little about it, but I am strangely intrigued. My biggest concern, I think, as you mentioned, 4 scenarios, are those one-off. Does that mean there are basically 4 one-time through play scenarios in the box? That would be a little bit of a red flag for me.
I don't know. If they're long, that's worth it.
No, I assume they're not. I assume they're just different setups. You're not spoiling them. You know what I mean? I think they're just different setups.
I think so. I like that the miniatures are PVC. You know, the thing about this game, it's based on this art. This art is a strong reminder for me of the same artist of Scythe. Where he has this beautiful landscape, and then there's like this funky technology there, but it's not necessarily the focus. It has a very similar vibe.
Yeah, I kind of like the vibe here is really interesting too, because Scythe is 1920s, right? So we are looking at 2 foreign-looking things: the 1920s and an alternate history version of mechs and stuff. This is only one of those 2 things is an alternate history, because the people, if you look at some of the pictures, they look like the people did in the 80s, right? What they're wearing. The color palette, I'm getting like a very Dinosaur Island vibe, and mechs,
Right.
So this lady has a Walkman, but then behind her is standing this cool machine, So yeah, I like the vibe here. I do.
Yeah, I'm being sold on this. I mean, look, there's a quote here from one of the designers of War in the Ring where he says it's a great game. That's pretty strong praise.
Yeah. And I think they do say it's an alternate 1980s Z. I think they actually say it here on the page. So I think you're dead on with that.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Those little those painted figures look to me almost like miniature versions of the figures in the Giant Killer Robots. Like they look almost not like regular minis. You know what I mean? They almost look like models. So it looks interesting.
All righty. Well, cool. All right, now we're at upgrade kits for both Shogun and Wallenstein. These are deluxe upgrade kits from Queen. I'm assuming in here you can buy the base game. I didn't look for that, but I'm assuming you can.
Yeah, the big boxes. They've got the big box games you can get.
This is pretty fascinating to me because the idea of this game being upgraded is something I've thought about before, because at the end of the day, Wallenstein is a bunch of cubes on the board, and the components weren't that great. This stuff looks good.
But it was a cube tower. How do they get around that? I mean, are you dropping meeples through that thing, or?
Well, you played the game with me. Remember that game from WizKids where we drop meeples into a tower. Or did you
Which
not play
game
one?
were
Z
you-
played it with me.
I
I
don't
mean,
remember. I don't know, but I don't like that idea, honestly.
I don't know. Listen, we played that game with where you clubbed the tower, and the meeples came out. It worked. They were little meeples. They tumbled through the tower just like cubes did. It worked fine, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like the meeples. So I like everything else looks fine, but it also is unproven. I don't know what this looks like. They're selling me an upgrade, and I don't know how good that upgrade is. Like if this was a come on upgrade, I know what their plastic looks like. You know what I mean?
Now,
Yeah.
I disagree on that. This is Queen. Queen has made some stuff I don't necessarily like, but their upgrade stuff is pretty good. Their acrylic stuff that they've done in the past is pretty solid. The acrylic Copenhagen is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
that is
All right.
nice.
Well, I haven't seen it. That's what I'm
with
saying. I
this.
haven't seen it. You cannot disagree with me not having seen it, Tom.
100%.
In my opinion.
Shut your mouth, Seekers.
Flip something.
Throw you through a cube tower.
I'm pretty pumped about this because, for example, when you play Wallenstein, there's these buildings that you can build that are worth a lot of points in the game, and it's easy to miss where they are. With them being 3D buildings, I feel like that's a legitimate thing to ask for. It's not just plastic for the sake of plastic. It's like, oh, that's where the church is, because those territories that they're in are worth more points, so you'll fight over them more. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. This sort of thing, like the starting marker, okay, no. But I still want it. That's just cool. And then they're throwing in Immortals because no one's buying this, and they need you to get that on board.
I am down with metal coins, though.
Well, I need to cancel my Ankh pledge. Back Shogun buildings.
I think
And Wallenstein.
Kingless. All right, a fast and paced, easy game. There's no king, so we're kingless. But at the end of the game, I guess there's a king.
I would certainly hope so. It's got that FEF system that all the kids are talking about.
Well, this is the first one that these guys have made. But listen, it's from Tasmania. Tasmania. That's pretty cool, I think.
That is cool. That's very cool. I do, all joking aside, I love seeing, that's one of the things I think that Kickstarter is really good for, is that it gives an opportunity for people that maybe aren't in traditionally, gaming meccas, a chance to get in. I don't know what the gaming culture is like in Tasmania, but I think it's really cool that something's coming out of there.
Yeah.
I think the artwork's pretty solid in this. I don't know if the game's good.
Sure.
But the artwork looks good.
I like the artwork.
Right.
I think the graphic design is pretty good, but I like the artwork a lot. It's cute.
All right, the Defense of Procyon. Is it Procyon III?
I believe he was saying Procyon.
Procyon.
Or Procyon or something. Yeah, I think.
If ever there was for me and my bad pronunciation skills, board gaming may not have been the best hobby to have picked sometimes.
Correct.
So this apparently takes place in 2107. And
that's the future.
That is the future. I just saw, I got a little graphic today that showed when movies happen in the future and where we were on that graph.
Oh, yeah.
So, the next, we're not too far off from the Sandra Bullock Demolition Man. We're not too far off from that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like when movies
We're past
set.
Blade Runner, right? We're past Blade Runner right now.
I think. I don't remember.
Not the sequel.
Anyhow, Mike, you played this one, right?
I did. Myself and Robert Geislinger played this on Tabletop Simulator with the designer teaching us. And this is a really intriguing game. I'm going to put it to you that way. I've not played anything like it. It's a team-based game where you've got two separate boards. And it's almost like two separate games happening at the same time, where the two boards have some connection and interactivity, but not a whole lot. You've got a ground board where you've got ground troops between aliens on one team and humans on the other team. And then you've got a space board with aliens and humans. And you've got to coordinate with your teammate to try to set things up so it would be like, well, I've got a card here that can help you do this. Would that be helpful to you? Can you do anything to help me out over here, type of a thing? But what's beyond that is that it's essentially, I said 2 games in one, but in some ways it's 4, because every single role plays with completely different mechanics. Like the role that I played, which was the ground troop aliens, had bag building and multi-use cards and resource management. And Robert was in space, and he had something completely different going on. And so we each read a 10-page rule book. You know, I read the 10-page rule book for my faction.
That's such a hard
Everyone else
teach.
read theirs. I'm telling you, it's the teach is going to be a bear. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. And someone said, hey, could you teach the game now that you've played it? And I said, well, I could teach my role. I teach the role that I played, but I have no idea what was going on in the other 3 roles. Now, that being said, if you want to make the investment, it seems like there's a pretty special thing going on here, because it seems like it shouldn't work. It really shouldn't. And it was a tight game. It came down to the last turn. Like, Robert and I do want to say the Dice Tower team won. And I'm not going to say that I carried Robert and that he was the anchor. I'm not going to say that. Others might have said it, but I was able to do a dramatic last turn victory. So that felt good. It felt good that in a game that's this big and crazy, that it was tight. It was really tight. But yeah, I wouldn't want to try to teach all 4 roles. I mean,
I have 2
that's
concerns
rough.
about the game. One of them is that it's that
Mhm.
that's these complex games with multi rules. Like I have a hard time wanting to get root out, just because, especially with people who are new, because I have to explain everything to everybody. So that's a little concern. David definitely designs games that are heavy and complex. But the other one is this company, PSC Games. They've made some decent stuff. Their miniatures, in my opinion, aren't that great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw the Command and Conquer, or whatever that series was called. I'll just find it here, because let's look at their past projects. Because I believe their company's called Plastic Soldier Company.
Yeah.
So they made Blitzkrieg, which I think is amazing. But they made Red Alert, Space Fleet. Those were not that great miniatures. Mm-hmm. They just weren't. They mostly made war games, or light war games anyway.
Now, I do want to say this, just to make sure that I'm being as clear as I can. I almost think you could play this game with, if you have the 4 players, have everybody just read their rule book, and all you need to know outside of that are the win and loss conditions. You don't really need to know what the other people do all that much.
I get that, but what is that?
No way. I have to know what people are doing.
When you say, I could be like, Mike, I can just do this and throw dice at your face and be like,
well, no.
You don't.
I just peed in your boot.
There's a reference guide. As a matter of fact,
there's a reference
guide there's a reference guide that each role gets, and it tells you what the points for your objectives are, and it tells you what your opponents can do to you. So you can get an idea. But yeah, I'm not trying to undersell. It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
So my question is this going to be one of those games that people really love, but they don't play? That's my concern. Like, and everyone's like, oh, this game's fantastic. I can't stop thinking about it. Sure, but are you playing it a lot? Now, maybe I'm wrong. I'm certainly going to give it a try.
I think that if you had a core group that liked this game, I can see this being one of those almost lifestyle games where they play it once every couple of weeks. And well, I guess, except that I do feel like there's enough depth here that if you put in that work on the front end, especially if you then try to play the other roles. I mean, I don't know. I will say this. I have not played anything like it before, and that's praise in and of itself. Now, does that mean it's going to get played a lot? I don't know. But I have not played anything like this before. So that's something, you know.
I guess we'll talk about this.
Will I play it a lot? Yeah, I don't know. I really,
it's not coming out till May 2021, so we got a long time. All right. Rush MD ICU expansion.
There we go.
I just reviewed Rush MD and I really liked it a lot.
You did.
This was a sequel to Kitchen Rush, and I thought Rush MD did it even better. So yeah, in fact, it has a quote by me here. This one's better than the unique quote. Anyhow, in Rush MD, you're basically just bringing patients into the hospital and curing them. It's not a grotesque game or anything. It's more like an app. Like, this person needs a heart, and you can see you gave them a wooden heart. You know, that type of thing. But you you're putting them in
That's
beds.
not going to work. A wooden heart is not going to work.
Well, in cartoons, it's fine.
Yeah.
You wheel the beds around. You do tests on people. And I found it to be enjoyable. And it was not tremendously difficult on the easy level, which is something I like in games. You can make it harder. You know, so I enjoyed this a lot.
David Turchi is his name, right? He's all over.
David.
Oh, yeah.
He just did that last game, too.
This is one of his lightest games.
So he's in this. He's in that Defense of Probiotics, and he's also... He had
Excavation Earth.
Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's all over the place.
The Stefan Feld of our times.
Yeah,
I
actually had
Stefan
him
Feld
on.
was the Stefan Feld of our times.
Okay, so anyhow...
I had David Turtsey on the Daily Chat, and I asked him, I keep talking over Tom. He's not going to be able to get a word in edgewise. I asked him, is this going to be the year of Turtsey, or is it going to be the year of Cathala? I put him on the spot, but he very much, I think he genuflected to the throne of Cathala. So
why is Cathala the king? What are we talking about? That's not the only
He's
option.
got a ton of stuff coming out.
Yes,
he has a ton
is.
of stuff coming out, too, I think is what it is.
It is.
This is the year of Delicio. All right, anyhow. So this adds an ICU game board, medical examinations. It looks like it just adds more stuff, you know. And I don't know that I felt this is interesting. I'll play this when the expansion comes out. But I thought the base game had a lot of stuff going on anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess this is if you thought they don't have a lot. Artipia Games does pretty good stuff, and they continually do expansions for their games. This will probably not be the only expansion for this, but I enjoyed it. And can you get the base game? I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah. You can't get just the base game, though.
Oh, really?
You got to get the expansion.
They've got a really consistent art style, Artipia. You can usually tell their games just by looking at them.
Yeah, their games are pretty quality, too. I like their stuff. All right, 3 more. Here we go. The Ratcatcher. This is a solo adventure board game. Mike, tell us.
I'm telling you this. I had never heard of this until you shared these links. This
you
looks
played
cool.
this with David Turchi.
I played it with, David Turtsey. This is he used a pseudonym with this one, but no, this looks cool. This looks really cool, and because this hits me on a couple levels. Number one, you know, it's nice to see games that are designed as a strictly solitaire experience, and number two, I like the theme. Radis is one of my favorite games, and I think that theme, if it's done in a sensitive enough way, is interesting, and I think the art style on this is really cool. I like the screen printed peoples.
The tagline is, "You are the rat catcher saving magical cheese from the ravenous rat plague. Confront an endless tide of enchanted rats until you face the fearsome nemesis rat." That's just a great line.
That's perfect. Yeah. No, I'm really, really intrigued by this. Again, I knew nothing about it. It came out of nowhere to me. I like the way it looks. I like this look of a modular board. I like the screen printed meeples there. I'm very interested in this.
It definitely has a good. It's a good. Well, I think put together Kickstarter page.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It shows off the game well enough that I'm not, as y'all know, I'm not a big solo gamer, but I'm looking at this going, I would play this.
You're not a solo gamer at all, from what I've heard.
Talk.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more. The Great Race. This is in the 30s.
I use that font. Great.
You're going to be. This is happening during the 30s, and I don't know that the 30s had a vehicle with is that a mini steamroller on it? I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, 2-wheel steamroller.
I don't think that's what it is. It's not touching the floor, but who knows?
This is from. They did one other game. What is the other game? It's going to be the Great Race first time, isn't it? Oh,
yeah.
I called it.
Canceled.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right. Well, this time it's succeeding, and it looks like they're racing across Africa safari. I'm okay with this one. It just I'm not getting enough information. I do like the art.
Right.
I like the look of this. Yeah.
Side style of art where they have a background and a vehicle.
Right. Yeah, no, it's interesting looking. I don't feel like I have any real sense for. I mean, there's rules there. I didn't read the rules, but I don't really feel like I have much of a sense for what's going on. But I don't know. I definitely would be interested in playing it.
When's this one coming out?
I like the theme. I like the look of the boards. if I was someone who backed more Kickstarters, I think I would have dug in deeper to this one because it seems to stand out for me. You know what I mean? This doesn't look like every other Kickstarter is what I'm saying. How many race games do we get? How many of them have this weird theme? How many of them feel this sort of like little indie guy actually needing to kickstart something? There's like all these little things that to me make me feel like, yeah, I want to jump in here and help this guy get this game made. So, you know, if I actually had a heart and it wasn't wooden, I might consider that.
Yeah, this also, and I could be completely off base here, but this also does strike me as being one that maybe will be hard to get a hold of if you don't back it. I don't know if this is going to go a traditional retail route, so I don't know.
Oh, I got to back it then.
That's right.
Alrighty, now for the last Kickstarter, which is a weird one. A Pig Back from Hell.
Excuse me?
Okay, so this company, Devil Pig, we were all under the impression they had gone out of business. You've heard about them on a Dice Tower because Sam, who used to be on our channel, would always talk about Heroes of Normandy. That was a big thing.
Right.
And so this Kickstarter is a way for them to come back, as far as I can tell, which I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was looking at their games, Heroes of Normandy, and the cards look better, although it's still a weird name for stuff. Carnage is a game that is better than people think. Age of Towers is okay. You know, and so on and so forth. Then I come down here and I keep going. I'm looking at the games, blah, blah. And suddenly it turns into Pinup World.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
And I was less impressed with the Kickstarter at that point. Because that has nothing to do. Like Heroes of Normandy was a fairly historically accurate miniature game without miniatures. You used tiles and went around and I fought them. I was great with that. I don't know where all these ladies came from.
Yeah, it seems a little.
They're getting some flack online because of this.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's not. It's sort of two tones. I don't have a problem with either tone, but I get that some people would be here for one thing and get another, or vice versa. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of weird. And it's also weird, you know, their goal is $10,847. That seems like an odd goal to get a company back on its feet. 10,000 doesn't seem like a lot, right?
Yeah, right. And they are making things. It's not like all that money is just going right to their, you know, to keep them creating. You actually are getting physical product for that money.
I guess they completely have control of these products because Heroes of Normandy they were doing in conjunction with Yellow.
Right.
And I think that's over now. They're doing it by themselves. So
I hate the look of these cards, to be honest. It's like some have artwork, some have screen caps, like old, not screen caps, old pictures.
Stock footage,
I don't mind that stock footage of world. Like I said, when you're playing the game, it felt to me, it feels thematic in that sense. It's just weird then mixing it with the other artwork. But in the game itself, I think you're only using the one. You're only using those cards.
I'm looking at cards that are all together, and some have artwork, some have pictures. I don't care I'm good with either one, but don't mix them. It should be one or the other. I just don't like that look myself. I'm picky about that. Yeah. All right.
All right, guys, it's time for picks of the week, and I really don't know. So here's what I'm going to do before I give my pick of the week. I'm going to give a special pick of the week to Frosthaven, so I don't have to pick it because it is awesome. It is cool. I think it's great that it's doing so well, and it's obvious of all obviousness. It doesn't need any help, but it's fantastic. It looks cool. And
how do you know it's fantastic and cool? Have you played it?
I've looked at it.
Then shut your mouth.
Okay, anyway, Frosthaven is one of my picks of the week.
It's like that?
Put that up there. Yeah, that is how it is.
I have 4 picks. Number 1.
All right. What's your pick, Mike?
Oh, well, I'm going to do the same thing you did then. I'm going to give a special shout out to Ankh because I am backing Ankh. But you're right. It doesn't need my help. It doesn't need anyone's help. I'm going to go with the rat game. The rat. I've already forgotten the name of it. Because I just think that Ratcatcher. Thank you. This game, because this one surprised me so much. I knew nothing about it. It apparently funded in 30 hours. It's doing relatively well. I feel like I was kind of out of the loop on this. And I'm going to go ahead and give this one my pick of the week because it was out of nowhere.
All right, cool.
And I am not gonna be cheesy, but I'm also not gonna be very. I'm also not gonna be particularly interesting. I'm going with Ankh. Yeah. None of these other ones are something that I would consider backing. I'm considering backing Ankh. Yeah.
Well, if we go by that, though, there's a lot of weeks you don't back anything, you know.
What else can I possibly go by? No, but I mean, like, if there is one I would back, that's what I go by, because it's the one I think it looks good and I want it, right? I mean, since I don't back that many things, I don't think it's a bad parameter for me to use to pick my pick of the week.
No, this is a good one, and this is certainly interesting. Yeah. So, like I said, Frosthaven, fantastic, but I'm going to go with this Planet Unknown. I'm really pumped about this one. Yeah. I really am. Mm-hmm. I tend to like these polyomino games anyway. I like them. I think of the Dice Tower, I think I like these the best, because there's very few
your grids
that I don't like. But I'm telling you, this one gives me that really strong Barren Park feeling. And I like the planets. I don't care Terraforming Mars, any of that nonsense. I like the components. I don't know. I'm hoping this one is as good as it sounds. So, but I will say this. I said that I thought we had a good slate last week. I think this is one of the best slates of games we've seen in a long time.
I agree. I think this looks good. The Tales from the Loop looked good. A lot of good games this week.
Yeah, the For Science, even the first one, the Valknut or whatever. It's cool.
Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, remember, we do this every 2 weeks, folks. So if you say, well, there's a game on Kickstarter right now, well, that probably has more than 14 days left on it, and we'll talk about that next time. Well, and then, of course, if not, you can always mention in the comments, and maybe people will go there and check it out. I guess that's it. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to Robert. Thanks to all these publishers who make great games. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. Or no, tonight. I'm sorry, tonight. Dice Tower tonight, Eric and Crystal at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then we'll all be back here tomorrow, where the people can whoop up on Z in a game show for Board Game Breakfast at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. See ya.
I'm Mike Delisio. Take care, everybody.
Have fun backing games.